Hello and welcome everybody. Jack Acid with ApexHead.com bringing you episode 5 of the F1 2013 I Am No Expert Career Mode series, and here in practice we have an objective to stay on the brakes for a certain percentage of the lap, and we were able to complete that, which is going to give us a 5% reduction in brake wear. So now moving on to Q1, team expectation is to finish 10th, and let's see what we can do here in Q1. Able to get a time posted here. Did actually go out for a second lap with the higher fuel mix, but unfortunately not able to beat my time, but no matter. We were able to finish at P15. Remember, we have to be in the top 16 in order to move on to Q2, so able to escape Q1 with no problem. Getting a time posted here in Q2 up into P8 for now, but of course that won't hold up. Going to go back into the garage and sure enough, bump down into P12, so now debating on which tires to take out. Going to go ahead and stay out on the used options, more concerned about that in Q3, and sure enough, able to get up into P6, and that time will actually hold up till the end of the session. Kimi Räikkönen, our teammate, able to post a P2 finish, but of course that probably will not stand for the starting grid, but let's see what happens here in Q3. Able to get up into P8, and really hoping that that holds up, and sure enough it does. Kimi Räikkönen able to finish in P7, so objective completed, able to get into the top 10, and that's going to be our starting spot on race day. And as some of you may or may not know, I believe this was supposed to be the first year that they were going to alternate Catalunya and Valencia as the Spanish GP, but I just noticed that in next year's calendar, Catalunya is listed and Valencia is not, so for whatever reason, Valencia missing in action, and we'll have to see if there's any developments over the next several weeks. Taking a look at our race strategy, you may have noted going out on a cautious fuel load. That means we're going to be a little bit heavier to start the race, but we'll have an opportunity to turn up our fuel mix should we need to. Let's take a quick look at the starting grid. Fernando Alonso on pole position, lined up behind him Nico Rosberg P2 with his teammate Lewis Hamilton in P3, and behind them Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber, the Red Bulls, in 4 and 5. Taking a look at the 9 and 10 spots, Paul di Resta and Adrian Sutil, another team bunch there at Force India cars. Jenson Button qualifying P13 with Sergio Perez lined up in P11. So let's see if we can build on our P4 finish at Bahrain after an extremely long stint on the prime tires. Here as the lights go out, let's see what kind of a start we can get. Lined up next to our teammate. And pretty good launch, actually going to have to fend off the Force India cars as we come down into turn 1, which is a very, very swift corner. Much swifter than it looks, and you can see being swarmed now. Going to try and hold my line here on the inside. Let's see if Kimi and I can share space coming through Elf. Wheel to wheel coming around. And able to get around our teammate, and now getting bunched up with Mark Webber in the Red Bull, coming around this very long sweeping right-hander. In contact there with Webber, and he falls back up into P6. Now chasing down Sebastian Vettel in the Red Bull. Speeding down to a very challenging turn 4. I don't know how many times I've gone into the gravel here, but this time able to follow the AI around. But actually able to cinch up the gap with Sebastian Vettel. Should have a chance down here at turn 5, and cutting on the inside of Massa, and our tires coming together twice, but fortunately not spinning the Ferrari out, able to stay ahead of Vettel and get settled into P5. Now trying to find our entry point, climbing up the hill at turn 7 and maintaining decent speed, but Vettel very anxious to get around. Now coming up over the top here at Camps, almost flat out, want to avoid getting tangled on the gravel there on the left hand side and entering a DRS zone, but of course that's not activated until lap 3. Now trying to close the gap with Massa coming around a very, very slow and difficult corner here at turn 10. Now the slithering turn 11, just before we have to slow down and hug the curb, coming around turn 12 and trying to keep the Ferrari in our sights here near the end of lap 1. Now dropping through turn 13, also known as Europe car, and the kink chicane, very easy to spin out, turns 14 and 15, and trying to get some exit speed coming into New Holland. And at the end of lap 1, we are up into a P5 position, but the question is for how long? We're about to find out as we come down the start-finish straight for the first time at full speed, and here comes Sebastian Vettel on the inside. Now lined up wheel to wheel, looks like he's going to have the pace to get by us, but the question is, can we outbrake him? Yes, we're able to do so with no problem as long as we can hold our line. And able to do so, swooping back into our P5 spot and hopefully maintaining that for as long as we possibly can. So now skipping ahead here to lap 4, coming through the chicane, and you can see Sebastian Vettel absolutely having none of it. And now even closer than he was coming around lap 1, was not able to get any kind of a gap on the German. And here he comes again down the start-finish straight, and he's going to have no problem once again getting around us. This time he'll have plenty of opportunity to stay ahead. Let's see if we can make a move on the inside here, and don't want to take him off. Remember, we did have a problem with Vettel at Australia in a similar situation and ended up costing ourselves several positions, so flashbacks of that coming to fruition and making me think better of it. So here at the end of lap 7, maintaining our P6 spot and coming into pit and we'll have to see who comes in behind us. Changing our fuel mix to lean here, and it looks like no one is coming in behind us, so we're actually going to drop several positions here. And you can see that my tires almost blood red. Not as worn out as I've seen them before, especially in China, but that's a whole other story. So the team getting us out in just over 3.2 seconds, a decent stop. And let's see if we resume in P17. Looks like we got Charles P coming down the start-finish straight with a couple of cars behind him, but it looks like we're going to be able to stay ahead. And yes, in fact, we will resume in P17, but let's see what kind of ground we can make up as the other cars ahead make their rounds. So here you can see a very busy pit lane, including our teammate Kimi Räikkönen. And we're going to be racing him coming out of the pit lane here, and this is going to be very, very close. Don't want to have any kind of an incident, and actually able to pull ahead of him pretty easily. Thankfully getting ahead of Kimi, and that's going to put us up into P12. Now jumping to the start of lap 10, and more cars here. Looks like 4 or 5, and we are going to get up into P8 as a result of that. And it looks like now we've got company coming from behind our teammate Kimi Räikkönen trying to catch up with us at Elf, and now contact up ahead. Looks like Sergio Perez might have had contact with the car. There was some debris flying behind him just as we got through turn 1. And now trying to track down Sergio Perez here as we head into turn 4. Now setting our sights on the McLaren, able to reel him in just like we were able to with Sebastian Vettel on lap 1. So the AI a little bit slow there. Let's see if we can find some real estate on the inside, and just like with Massa, wheel-to-wheel coming out, let's see who's got the exit speed. Sergio Perez almost going completely off track, but able to maintain his position of P7 for now, but for how long? Trying to keep the duel alive, swooping up turn 7, now climbing the hill. Let's see if we can catch Perez coming down the DRS zone, coming out of turn 9 here, and we may have an opportunity to overtake him down at turn 10. Very, very slow. But I think we might be a little too far back, and yes, we are. Now going off into the clag there, and that's going to hurt my grip, at least for a handful of seconds. And trying to stick with Sergio Perez coming around turn 12, and very slow around turn 12, looking for some room on the inside, and we should have a chance to make a move here through Europe car. Not going to happen here. Now slight contact with Perez, and Perez knocking us off track completely, and sliding through the chicane now. He's going to get ahead of us. There's no warning from the stewards on my end. I'm not sure if something happened to him, but that was obviously extremely aggressive. So impressive AI when you consider the source. And here comes Kimi Räikkönen coming down the start-finish straight. And suddenly we are in a battle for P8. And Kimi's going to have to back off, and yes, he does. And slight contact with Sergio Perez coming through Elf, and now almost wheel-to-wheel coming around turn 2. And Sergio Perez and I, obviously, in a very heated duel here, coming around turn 3. And we're going to have to try and bide our time. Fortunately, Kimi falling back there, and of no real threat just yet, but Kimi definitely has better pace than I do. Coming down that start-finish straight and having problems with my tires coming out of the exit there, and obviously torturing my tires, obviously anxious to get caught up with Sergio Perez. Do not want to lose time, want to get ahead of him as quickly as I can because I do tend to fall back, and so it's actually kind of refreshing to be able to stick with a car. Coming up the hill yet again, and we should still be in range to use our DRS, and if we're not able to catch him coming down here at turn 10, my hope is that maybe we can make a move coming down into turn 1 at the start of lap 12. Let's see what happens coming down here, and actually he's very slow, able to close up the gap quite a bit. Let's see what we can do through turn 11 and cutting off the curb there and overshooting a little too much gas coming around turn 12. It's so easy to do that. The corner falls away so quickly. So now returning to the scene of the crime when Sergio Perez knocked us off track, and very slow coming through turn 14, and now hip-to-hip coming through turn 15. And once again, Sergio Perez and I almost getting tangled here at the start of lap 12. The good news is we should have no problem overtaking him, entering a DRS zone here and turning up our fuel mix. We do have extra fuel. And finally getting around the McLaren. The question is, can we stay on track coming through turn 1? I do tend to get over anxious, and no exception here, going off track and rolling up over the very steep curb there, but maintaining a P7 position. So here at the start of the final lap, you can see my tires pretty worn out, turning up our fuel mix, still running P7, trying to fend off our teammate. And here at the end of the race, Nico Rosberg able to get the victory, and having problems at turn 12, and my tires extremely slippery, and just wanting to hang on for dear life. No real threat from Sergio Perez, but don't want to get careless. Coming through the chicane for the final time, and obviously making sure I don't spin myself out again because these tires are so worn out. And we are going to finish here in a P7 spot, so not a bad result. 2 ahead of our teammate, which obviously means we'll gain some ground on him in the standings. Have to think that the story of the race was my duel with Sergio Perez. That was extremely fun, about 2.5 laps there. And even though it didn't end that pretty, at least we got the position back. So taking a look at the race results, And there's Sergio Perez finishing right behind us. And Pastor Maldonado being the lone DNF. No real surprises at the bottom of the grid, and sure enough, no actual movement in the Drivers' Championship, but only 6 behind Kimi. And hopefully that will be something to build on at the next race in Monaco. Hope to see you then.